Hey Eric, this is a demo video for you for your recently purchased from me double-etched KR flagship lightsaber. This is a etch that I commissioned Dale over at Shadow Crest Design to do for me. I wanted a Mandalorian etch, and I'd never seen one done before. This is the first one like this. This is the only one like this that's out there. And he actually, after doing this etch, almost doubled the price to do this going forward. So you couldn't even get something like this etched as an empty saber for what you bought for it all installed. So I hope that you enjoy it. I've enjoyed having it. I'm just gonna dive into I need some equipment to teach myself how to etch. I etched this Harry Potter flagship for my daughter recently, and it's just something that I want to learn how to do, but there's some equipment I need for that. So I had to let this one go. You can see on one of the shrouds, it's got the mud horn from the new from the series The Mandalorian, when he fights the mud horn. And then the mud horn, let's see, that's the only place where the mud horn's at. And then on the other shroud is the actual Mandalorian helmet up top here, and just some cool designs. And then you've actually got the I forget what that's called, but the Mandalorian symbol right there along the handle. It's a beautiful saber. Dale is the only guy who does a double etch. There's a lot of guys out there etching sabers that look really nice, but this is actually a two-process design and two-process etch going on here. You'll be able to see that more in depth when you have it in your hand, how 3D some of these pieces look. But let's get into it. You do have stock Neopixels in here, and you're texting me wondering about those. So what those are is, I've got one right here. So a normal Neopixel setup will have something that looks like this. It's got your 7 pins on there. You'll either have 7 or 11. I usually do just 7, and these run your Neopixel blade. This one is the same thing. It has, it actually will have 11 pins. It doesn't matter if it has 7 or 11. This one actually has 11. This is an eco setup. So minus the 11 holes on here for pins, they're exactly the same. So you got your Neopixel pins on here, plus you got your 5 LEDs all around the PCB that light up. If you had, just a regular blade plug, it would be perfect for that. So that's what those are. These are a lot more involved in installing than these are. So there's 2 resistors that need to be soldered to this, 11 pins. I mean, then you got to test them to make sure everything works. I mean, these are very involved. So that's what you've got in here. You got a couple set screws in here. So you got this set screw right here is an 8/32 set screw. Do not take that out. This is what I put in here to hold the chassis in, that I'll show you in a minute. So you shouldn't ever have to mess with this one. Then you have this longer one right here that you should never have to mess with as well. It's what holds the PCB holder in here. So again, these 2 right here, you should never have to unscrew. And then finally, this one up here. This one is the one that you're going to want to mess with. This is your blade retention screw. So I believe it's an 8/32 set screw. It's out of the blade socket right now, but that's the one that you mess with for your blade. Okay, and then these, of course, are just holding your shrouds on, so you won't ever have to mess with those. Behind the shrouds are actual cutouts, 3 on each side of this blade holder. So when you have the blade in, or even when you don't, because you have the stock pixels, you'll see a nice shine through coming from behind these 2 shrouds here. Okay, and then you got your brass tactile switch here. These are very cool, but kind of a pain to install. But it's worth it, because this guy really needs a 2-button setup. So these are brass switches I bought from a guy on the lightsaber community named Robert Sotomayor, part of Smuggler's Outpost. He makes these really well, so this worked out well. Your top one right here is your activation, and then your bottom one is your auxiliary. And even though they're close together, they're very easy to address individually with your thumb, so you won't have any problem there. So let's open this guy up. This end cap does unscrew, but you'll never have to do that. You can just leave that alone. Unscrew it from here. You're going to notice a patina on these threads, but it doesn't affect the threads at all. It threads on and off nice and smooth. You got to understand, like, this is completely made out of brass, and it was dipped in acid several times to get this etch done. So there's a patina. You know, there's no bright spots left except for the switch. Unfortunately, I cannot etch the switch and then still have it functional. So that is the only shiny piece of brass that you have on this entire hilt. I did install it with a CFX board, just like the other ones that you've got from me. Easy access to your SD card if you ever wanted to get into it. I wired everything from the bottom, minus the 2 wires I use up here to jump the ground pads or the negative pads for your Neopixel. I usually put those jumpers on the bottom where you don't see them, but I chose to go the route of putting all the actual wires on the bottom this time, minus the 1 power switch for your Neopixel. I kind of went underneath the board, came up, wrapped around, and touched the positive pad here. But everything else is nice and tidy. It's not glued in. This is a press fit. There's just enough room on this guy to slide this on. So you won't have any problem there. It's not going anywhere on you. You have a 28mm bass speaker right here, and then you also have a removable battery system. So you don't have a positive and negative sign in here for battery orientation, but just know the spring here is your negative side. So this battery that I'll be sending with the hilt, that is your negative side, and of course that's your positive. That's a button top. It may sound obvious, but it's important that I cover that, because if you put this battery in backwards, you'll fry the board and it'll be no good. So it's worth mentioning because I've had people do it before. So spring negative, we'll pop it in. Get that sound, that's a good sign. We'll slide this guy right on. It goes right on. This does take a 1-inch diameter blade. I don't have a full-length blade to test it, but I do have I've got my test blade right here, so that will work just as well. But anyway, top button activation, smooth swing. Tap for blaster deflex. It's pretty loud. Hold it down, the auxiliary for flash on clash or blade lockup. You can see it on your pins too. Turn it off. Now we'll put a blade in it, and then we'll turn the light off so you can see what's going on here. Just want to be careful on these pins. When you're putting your blade in, you don't want to twist the blade down. You want to slowly push it straight down. I'm sure it would be fine. I particularly, I don't want to make contact with those small pins. And then because a pin looks like this, that's a single pin right there. So you can see the tip of that guy is on, it's spring loaded. What you don't want to do is just make contact with it, and then as you're twisting your blade, you're putting pressure on those pins, right? So it's just best to go straight down. So we got the blade all the way down. Let's take our Allen key and give it just a little bit of a bite. It doesn't need much. And then we'll hit the activation, and then this is an unstable blade. This is the same unstable effect that I'll be putting on your Star Killer that I'm working on. Tap for blaster deflex. Flash on clash. Flash on clash. Blade lockup. And you can see the shine through underneath those shields right there, or the shrouds. Pretty cool. And you want to change colors the same as your other ones. Hold down your auxiliary and twist your wrist. Spectrum. Now you can change color. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to change blade effects first to get rid of this unstable.
Spectrum.
Hold down.
Blade profile.
Now we'll just go through until we find a solid one. There we go. Now we'll change color. Auxiliary and twist.
Spectrum.
Now we're just twisting the hilt, right, to get whatever color you want. Cycle through a couple of those. And when you get the one you like, just tap a button. Then to get to your sound fonts, when the blade is off, hold down your auxiliary button.
Sound bank selection.
The force is with you, young.
And just tap either button to cycle up or down.
This party's over.
When you find one you like, hold the button down.
Rise.
A lot of these fonts will have music that you can play in the background, so when the blade is off, double tap the activation button. And then you can hit it, turn it on while the music's playing. And to turn the music off, just double tap the activation again, just like that. So, that is your hilt. Hope you enjoy it as much as I have, and thank you.